Greetings once again, my friends. I'd like to welcome you to another video, and this is going to be another series build. Today is November 10th of 2023. What makes this day special is that back on November 10th, 1975, we officially lost the Edmund Fitzgerald. The Edmund Fitzgerald was an ore carrier, and for her time, back in her day, she was a marvel of technology. She was large, she was fast, and she would have multiple records. She would be built by the Great Lakes Engineering Works in River Rouge, Michigan. She would be launched in 1958. She would be the first lake freighter built to the maximum St. Lawrence Seaway size. She carried ore between mills in Minnesota and ironworks in Detroit, Toledo, and Cleveland, and she had a capacity of 26,000 tons. The ship herself was named after the president and CEO of its owner, Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company. According to a Los Angeles Times obituary, Edmund Fitzgerald, who died in 1986, was a civic leader in his hometown of Milwaukee. Fitzgerald was initially opposed to having the freighter named in his honor, and the Northwestern board approved the name when he was out of the room. However, his son-in-law told the LA Times that the honor became the proudest moment of his life. The Fitzgerald would sink on the evening of November 10th, 1975, during a storm on Lake Superior. There were no survivors. According to the Shipwreck Museum, the Fitzgerald's captain, Ernest McSorley, reported problems around 3:30 p.m. that afternoon in a radio message to the SS Arthur Anderson. To the SS Arthur Anderson, this is the Fitzgerald. We have a fence rail down, 2 vents lost or damaged, and a list. I'm checking down. Will you stay by me till I get to Whitefish? The last contact with the Fitzgerald took place at 7:10 p.m. The Fitzgerald crew reported that the ship was holding our own. Just 5 minutes later, the Anderson's radar lost the Fitzgerald's signal. Later on, there would be a search, and it would be the Coast Guard. The underwater vessel discovered the Fitzgerald's wreckage on May 20th of 1976. She lies in about 535 feet of water below the surface of Lake Superior. Her bell was recovered in 1995, and a memorial bell was put in its place, and the site is considered a grave site. So my friends, I want to do a special build on this wonderful lady, and I actually found a model of the Edmund Fitzgerald. This is more of a pattern. This was in 1/400 scale, and I have a few ideas on what I want to do with this model. I'm going to use balsa wood on it, and I'm going to transport the paper onto the wood, and I think she'll be a little more sturdy, a little better to work with. So without further ado, my friends, I introduce you to the paper model, or the pattern for the 1/400 scale SS Edmund Fitzgerald. Okay, guys. In my never-ending quest to find a model of the Edmund Fitzgerald, I'm still looking, by the way, but this is the best that I can do right now. This model is in 1/400 scale, micro floater. Let's see. This is the Edmund Fitzgerald model, Cartono W Scally 1/400 scale. And this is the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. Now, this is a paper model, and I had wanted something to honor the Edmund Fitzgerald because, by the way, today is November 10th, and back in 1975, this lovely lady ended up disappearing, and she's been found, but she's broken in half and she's on the bottom in the Great Lakes. So I'm always looking on a lookout for a model kit of this ship, and I did plan to build one from scratch for this November, but I get sidetracked with the Flying Dutchman and some of the other projects, and I ended up not doing that anyway. Anyway, to make a long story short, I wanted to show you guys a model of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and this is in 1/400 scale. It is a paper model. So let's take a look. Let's open it up. We got the flaps on the bottom. I've got the settings on eBay where anything model of the Edmund Fitzgerald comes up, I get notified. Well, when I saw that there was a 1/400 scale Edmund Fitzgerald, I'm like, ooh, so I went to it, and yeah, guys, it's a paper model, but it's better than nothing. It's a depiction, and that's what I had wanted. So looking at the cover, you can see we got a picture of the finished ship. And you can see the back of it. And it looks like there's some things on the decks. Looks like that's a lifeboat. I can't really tell. And some other things. You got the smokestack. Okay, so that's the front page of the model. So now we're going to go into the parts. And this is relatively thick paper, so that's a good thing. But like I was suspecting, it's something that we have to cut. We'll cut out ourselves, and you can see what we're gonna fold. This is the deck. You can see all the individual hatches, and I guess we'll get to that. You can see up front we got the bow, all the cargo holes, and these are parts as well. You can see the Edmund Fitzgerald. It looks like a ladder. I think this is the back section, or where the stern is, and you can see the hole for the smokestack. And again, we got the bow. And again, I'll put up pictures of it because that's what I always do. And let's see. This is actually, okay, this is one sheet. You can see this is the stern, where the stern house, the deck house is going to go. Eventually the smokestack will go on top. And some of the other parts, I'm not quite sure what they are, but we'll find out in the instructions. You can see another part of the stern. And notice all the tabs. When we cut, we're going to have to be careful not to cut the tabs, because that's where we're going to glue everything in place. Alright, what's this one now? I think, oh boy. So I'm thinking that these are going to be the sides for the hatches, and we got the tops. I hope I can do this beautiful lady justice. This would be the back to the stern. I think that looks like that would be the back of the ship, the stern. Looks like, I'm not quite sure what that is. You can see we have a couple of other pieces, the smaller pieces. Got some more smaller pieces over here. Again, the cargo hatches and the sides of the ship. Let's see. This is in 1/400 scale, so it's not going to be the largest ship, but if this were plastic, it would be great. It would be a great size. You can see the Edmund Fitzgerald. They have yellow. Maybe it was, but all the pictures I had seen of the Edmund Fitzgerald, she was white. Again, we got another part of the stern where we're going to have to cut out all the little pieces, and we could fold it down so it would be glued into place. We got a little section of the wall. You can see the doors, the life preservers. I think that would be the bridge. You can see more of the sections of the towards the stern. And then we have a bunch of little pieces over here. I'm wondering if these are davits for the lifeboat or lifeboats. Like I said, we'll see in the instructions. And it looks like we have a wall, deck house wall. And look, you can see the smokestack. And a stern. I think that's going to be the top finish piece. Okay, it looks like we get into the instructions now. So you can see how all the pieces are going to fit together, or where they're supposed to go. You can see the flags, the pennant, and you can see all the little goodies that are going to go on the stern, the bow, and on the stern section. And then you can see all of the hatch covers. You can see the side, how all the parts are going to be fit together. Keep in mind, these are pretty tiny. But it'll still be fun. And again, it's a representation of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So it's got some instructions now written. This is the Great Lakes Ore Carrier Edmund Fitzgerald. Auxiliary materials and tools. To assemble the model, you will need small scissors, pincers, sharp knife, a wallpaper cutter, thin wire, ruler, glue, paper glue, thin threads, and paints. All parts should be cut out carefully along their outline. Press delicately lines where the parts should be bent by means of knife or needle top and ruler. Exact and precise bending allows assembly even the tiny parts as solids. Attention! Following symbols are marked to the right: R, L, side openings to be cut out, scissors, directions to the bow, arrow, gray arrows with gray arrow shows position of gluing of the tiny parts. Numbers of parts are marked black, parts to be glued in marked position, gray numbers, and elliptical frame marked parts which should be glued in marked position, but from below. The model has a lot of tiny parts. The assembling may be complicated because of the stiff and thick paper board. To make it easier, you may divide the layers of paperboard by means of a sharp blade. Assembly instructions. So we go from 1 to 15, which is the hull. Cut out part 1, bend white rectangles at the deck downwards. So these rectangles together with tabs form 2 rectangular beams and glue. Glue part 1 on a flat table. Take care of keeping the whole hull straight. Glue parts 2 as triangular beams. Slide half of them into the beams of part 1. Wrap sides 4 around part 3. The stern parts of sides 4 should be assembled similar as beams of part 1. Cut out the frames 5 and 6, bend the tabs outward and glue inside the bow part of the hull, marked with dashes or upper surface of deck 3. Slide ready part of the hull with short beams at sides 4 onto protruding 2 bow part of 1. In similar way, assemble deck 7, sides 8, and frames 9 to 11. The frame should be placed on stern part 2. Glue parts 12 under the deck where parts 1, 3, and 7 are connected. Glue a strip of paperboard 4 by 35 millimeters under the deck between the beams to stiffen the whole hull. Glue the sides 13 on a bow to part of the hull, and start gluing from the bow, sides 14 on the stern part. Start from the stern, and sides 15 in the center part fit the sides to the hull, cut length excess, and then glue. So we move on to the forecastle deck, and that would be 16 through 18. Assemble part 16 of the deck and its bow parts. Glue wall 17 to the deck 3 and the protruding parts of sides 13. Assemble parts 18 and 18A. Cut out the openings for the gangways, bend the tabs downward and glue them on parts 16 and 17. Glue the forecastle deck to sides 13. Moving to the poop deck, glue the assembled part 19 on deck 7 where marked. Glue the wall 20 to deck 7 and the protruding parts of sides 14. Cut out the staircases 21. Bend them and glue them to the wall 20 and to the deck according to the marks. Glue wall 22 on the deck from the side of the stern. Bend the wall 23 and glue it along the line after the deck to the vertical edge of the white triangle on wall 23. Glue the gangway 24 between walls 22 and 23 along oblique edge of the triangle on wall 22. Moving on to the windlass, assemble it according to figure 2 and glue it marked in position on the deck direct to detail with part 26 below. So for the warping winch, assemble according to figure 3 and glue in marked position on after the deck. Part 34 is placed at the ship's axis. Alright, the towing hook. Cut the part out, fold it in half, bend rectangular part outwards, and glue in a marked position on the after deck with the higher part directed to the stern. 38 to 41 is the upper part of the poop deck. Assemble deck 38, 38A. Cut out the openings for the gangways, bend the tabs down, and glue on part 19, walls 20, 22, and the sides 14. Assemble the wall 39 and glue it onto deck 38. Assemble deck 40 and 40A and glue it to the wall 39. In similar way, assemble the mount deck 41 and 41A, but remember to cut out an opening for the gangway. So we're going to move on to 42 through 46, which is the funnel. Shape the funnel roundly and glue it by means of tab 42A. Glue part 43 from below to the funnel and part 44 from above. Glue the prepared funnel on deck 40. Place where the parts are connected should be directed to the stern. Form strips 45 as rings, close to one side with discs 46 and glue them on part 43. 47 and 48, skylight of the engine room. For the parts out 3 layers. Glue part 47 on deck 41 and part 48 on 47. The oil tanks are from 49 to 50. Assemble parts 49 as tubes. Close the ends with discs 50 and glue on the deck 41 along with the skylight as marked. 51 to 57 are the ventilators, and you assemble a ventilator 51 according to figure 4 and glue it on deck 40, directing it to the stern. Assemble ventilators 52, 54, and 55 through 57 according to figure 5 and glue them on deck 41 behind the skylight. Ventilator 52 and 54 at starboard, 55 and 57 at port side. 58 to 59 is the locker for the gas cylinders. We assemble part 58, close the top with part 59 and glue on deck 41 in marked positions. 60 is the gangway. So this connects decks 38 and 41. Glue the gangway at the top left edge of the opening at deck 41 and at the bottom of the right edge of opening in deck 38. The companions, cut out the bases 61, 62, fold them in half, bend the trapezoid tabs outwards, and then glue. Bases 61 should be glued on deck 40 according to the symbols of neighboring trapezoids. In similar way, mount base 62 on deck 41. Glue the gangway 63, made out of 2 layers on the bases. Moving on to the bunker hatch, assemble the part out of 3 layers and glue onto deck 38, and that was 64. Parts 65 to 68 are the davits and the lifeboats. Cut at the lifeboats, davits 65, fold them in half and bend towards and glue on deck 38 so that they're sloping to the ship's axis. Glue brackets 66 vertically to the deck and the bottom parts of the davits. Assemble the boat hulls 67 and stern to bow and glue the deck 68 from above. Glue ready boats on deck 38 along lines between the davits. Assemble 2 davits out of wire, which is pattern A, and fasten them on deck 38 behind the boat davits. Okay, for the upper part of the forecastle, we glue the gangway 69 between deck 3 and 18. The upper edges of the gangway should be glued to the outer edges of the openings in deck 18, and the gangway should be directed to the ship axis. Assemble the wall 70 and glue it to deck 18. Glue assembled deck 70 and 71 on this wall. Cut out wall 72, bend it, glue on deck 71 and wrap around the stern part of the wheelhouse outline. From wall 73, roundly and glue it onto deck 71 to the wall 72. Bend part 74 and glue it between parts 72 and 73. Next, we glue the gangway 75 to part 74 and deck 71. Glue the hood 76 to wall 73. Along the line above the windows, assemble deck 77 and 77A and glue it to the wheelhouse. Glue railing 78 around deck 71 from the side of the bow and assemble the raft 79 out of 4 layers and glue it on deck 71 behind the wheelhouse. Glue the gangways 80 between decks 71 and 18 at the top of the outer edges of the openings at the bottom of the inner ones. Assemble 2 davits according to pattern B and fasten them to deck 3. Okay, so now we're going to use pattern B. So that would be this one right here. Next, we use 81 to 83, and those are the cargo hatches. We glue the strips 81 to form rectangular frames and glue them on decks 1, 3, and 7. Glue covers 82 on them all. Number of the covers are important. Cover 1 should be glued closest to the bow, and cover 21 closest to the stern. Assemble the gantry crane for lifting the covers and glue it to the deck so that the crane legs are placed with the rails. During the voyage, the crane was placed above the last hatch, which is 21, very close to the poop. So 84 to 89 is the equipment of the spar deck. Assemble the warping winches, 84 through 86, according to figure 7, and glue in pairs on decks 3 and 7, directing them with reels to the ship's axis. Cut out the propeller spare blades 87, slightly round them and glue onto the deck, where marked with short dashes between hatches 13 and 14. Assemble parts 88, glue parts 89 on them and fasten ready companions in marked positions on the spar deck. So now we move for the foremast and equipment of the navigating deck, and that's parts 90 through 92. Make the mast out of a stick, pattern C. Right, what do they got for pattern C? Yeah, see, that's pretty vague. Make a mast out of a stick, pattern C. Stick into deck 77 and lean on deck 71. Slide the platform 90, 90A onto the mast. Glue assembled base of the radar aerial 90, 91A on the mast head. Glue slightly rounded aerial 92 and 92A on this base. Part 92 should be placed from the side of the bow. Assemble some parts according to patterns D, G, and glue them in a navigation deck 77 according to the assembly drawing. Glue spar H to deck 18 on the bow. And lastly, part 93 would be the aftermast. Assemble the mast according to pattern. If perforated, through deck 40 and lean on deck 38. Assemble a platform 93 out of 2 layers and glue it from the side of the bow under the head mast, or the masthead, excuse me. Glue the flagstaff on deck 38, in the stern part. Glue the American flag, paint cream color, like the walls of the deck houses. All parts made of wire or sticks. Only after mast should be black. And that's pretty much everything in the kit. So, again, this is in 1/400 scale, and I wanted to honor this lady today because today is the anniversary of her sinking. I'm even tempted to use the patterns to cut out pieces of wood and then try to use these patterns on the wood, a wooden model with the balsa wood. I'm thinking that I want to do that, but we'll see. So this is going to be November's build. We're going to be building the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. So my friends, I wanted to introduce you to this kit in 1/400 scale. And until we move on, and the next time we move on, I'll have made a decision on what we're going to do, if we're going to make it out of wood or just do it out of the paper. Till that video, my friends, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.